Namaste. My name is Manjusha Jones, and I'm currently a second year graduate student in the Master of Arts Global and Area Studies program. And I had the fortunate opportunity of being able to travel to North India for about 5 months or so. I, I guess, as a part of the Global and Area Studies program, I was required to travel abroad to conduct independent research. And my area of interest was or is South Asian religion, and in particular, female renunciation in the religion of Jainism. And so my central research question was I wanted to know how Jain women entered into a patriarchal or male dominated space of renunciation in Jainism, because it's Jain women are heavily promoted to become wives and to become mothers. And so men are encouraged to renounce and become monks. But for some reason in Jainism, the ratio of nuns to monks is usually 800 to 200. And so I wanted to know, how do they have these vast numbers when, their women are promoted to stay in the world or, become wives and mothers. And so I went and I spent 5 months with Jain nuns of all stages of renunciation, from nuns that were training that hadn't been initiated yet, to nuns that were quasi-ordained, to nuns that were fully ordained. And I really soaked in their life. I lived the way they lived, I dressed the way they dressed. I even tried to do some of their own spiritual practices, throughout the day, throughout my entire 5 months there. And not only did I come back with a rich and very vast amount of data, but I also came back personally changed, and I felt as though that I grew personally and spiritually as a result of my research abroad. It was very much a mutual relationship, or a mutual trip, in the sense that I learned from them and they learned from me, and it was a good time. So typically, I would get up at about 3:30 in the morning. Um, we would change clothes, and then they have a specific set of like spiritual practices and kind of like exercises that they do. And so for about 48 minutes, they call it 48 minutes is a time of samayik, where you're supposed to be in a constant state of equanimity, right? So no thought processes, no anything. Everything is focused on spiritual growth. And so during that time, they meditate, they say chants and recite chants or whatnot. And then after that, they have exercises. It kind of resembles yoga in many ways. After that, we would go and do other spiritual activities by going around and visiting the different saints, both male and female, and paying respect to them. Come back and we would do daily chores, and then at around 7:30 we would have breakfast. Um, and then after that, we would have kind of like free time to do whatever we wanted. And most of the women that I worked with were actually taking classes, university level classes as well. So they would either be doing more spiritual practices, or they would be on their way to class, at which point they would kind of do that up until lunch, which is about 11:30 or 12. Have lunch, and then you would kind of go back into the same routine of, either university level classes or doing your own spiritual practices. And then at about 5:30, we would go back and have another round of samayik, and we would do evening darshan, and what they call Guru Vandana, which is where they pay respect to their guru, because they only have one single leader. And so they're not always around him. So they would, turn in whatever direction they knew he was, and, pay respect to him in that way. And after that, I had to take my own research notes and field notes and stuff at the end of the day. So until about 9 o'clock. And then it was time to go to bed and start the day over again. It changed me in two ways. It continued to confirm, or it fostered a higher appreciation of what I have back home, especially my family, American values, especially surrounding women's status. But on a deeper level, it changed how I saw the world, especially because Jainism has a huge focus on recognizing, um, not the humanity in a sense, but um, the the necessary interconnectedness of all living beings. And so being there surrounded by individuals that I had never known that really took me in as one of their own. You know, I'm this foreign, this American from God knows where, and they took me in and they assigned me an English assistant. They allowed me to come into their residences. They allowed me to sleep with them. They allowed me to go into the temples with them, you know, and they treated me as if I was just another human being. It really didn't matter where I was from, who I was, what I was, woman, man, whatever. And all of that, that support, that environment, just helped me to realize the interconnectedness of all living beings, especially humans, you know, regardless of where you are in the world. I initially thought that I might have been going into some form of foreign service. Um, it was like USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, or going into a PhD program to further my studies with Jainism. But my time abroad changed, you know, my goals in the sense that I want to take that interconnectedness that I found that affected me and kind of spread that in a way that's accessible to all peoples regardless of their particular backgrounds. And so now I would like to start a nonprofit, you know, where I empower minority youth through spiritual or yogic principles, you know, to help empower them and give them a higher self-esteem and confidence and so on, and maybe extend that to, you know, individuals, you know, that may not be youth, such as, you know, abused and battered women and so on and so forth. Many of the women that I worked with, I established very strong connections with, and even now to this day, they'll still send me emails and ask me how I'm doing, how's my research doing. A lot of times, one of the women I worked with was kind of assigned to me as an English translator assistant. Um, and one of them, I established a very strong and great connection and bond with, and I miss her dearly. I cried whenever she got her Diksha Desha, which is, you know, permission to actually initiate and become a nun. And, you know, we would write to each other while I was in India. So I made a lot of connections and a lot of friends that I miss to this day, and I hope to go back and, you know, see them again. It's a changing experience in so many different ways. Simply because you're exposed to a different culture, a different set of values and beliefs and individuals, and a different way of life that is completely different, you know, from the culture here in America and the culture here in Wyoming. And I think exposure to different ways of life, different cultures, different peoples, um, is healthy, and it does nothing but, you know, improve you know, a person's moral character, you know, growth and so on and so forth. So luckily for me, not only I had enough money to extend my research beyond the summer, and, you know, research in the summer and in the fall comfortably. I was able to get an apartment that had a TV, hot water, which is very valuable in India, a kitchen and a balcony, and they actually came in and cleaned my room for me and everything. I could go grocery shopping and get rickshaws and so on and so forth. So I didn't have to worry about the cost of my research abroad because UW, you know, gave me those opportunities, you know, to not have to worry about that. This has been a great opportunity for me. Me going to India has opened up a lot of professional and, you know, I guess academic professional doors for me. When I came back, I had someone contact me about publishing my thesis. I've had individuals invite me to go to conferences to present on my work. And so on, and I'm pretty sure the opportunities will just keep coming. Doors have definitely been opened.